It was me, our truck, and maybe our other truck, and then maybe 4 or 5 Afghani Army vehicles behind us. We started kind of going up this little incline, and then we hit a 105 artillery round that was in the ground and shot me up out of the vehicle, and then came down, hit the back of the truck, and then fell behind the truck. And as I'm, kind of pushing my upper body up, I'm watching. I just see the truck coming back, and it just rolls over me, crushes my left side. My legs were pinned underneath, and I just, freaked out. And I grabbed the bumper, and I was, struggling to get out, and I felt stuck. And our medic was in the truck behind us, and he came and grabbed me and helped pull me out and got me out of underneath the vehicle. And he's looking at me and assessing me. And the first thing I asked him is if my junk was still there.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Mark Rutherford. This is Kyle Schoberg. We are your hosts, and this is the Shots Fired podcast.
Today, we brought in an amazing guest, Noah Bailey, into studio with us, who was in the 173rd Airborne in the United States Army, and in 2005 was hit by an IED, and he's a double amputee. He's here to share that story with you guys. It's an incredible story of survival. But before we get into that, we want to talk about today's sponsor, Shieldbox. Guys, all you have to do is go to shieldbox.com, sign up for their subscription, and every 30 days, they send you a box just like this full of all of your first responder needs, equipments, cool tools, you name it, they have it. All you got to do is sign up, and it gets delivered straight to your house. So it's like Christmas every 30 days. And that's not all. We're actually, the three of us are going to sign this particular Shield box, and we're going to ship it straight to your house. And the way to win it is drop a comment below and automatically enter a chance to win. That's all you have to do. You just got to drop a comment, and we will draw a winner from the comment section. You will win this Shield box with our signature. Let's go ahead and sign this thing.
Nice.
Noah, do us the honors, please. Excellent.
Do I have to use this
You
pen?
can use pink if you want.
Well, I wanted to select a different color.
Wrong month.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Mark, tell everybody else what we're giving away.
We are also giving away a medic box. Same opportunity. People are eating these things up. We have so many of these we're giving away as a giveaway. Drop a comment below and automatically get entered to win this product. We will also sign this, and we will ship it to you as well. Two awesome products right now.
So usually before we jump into our episodes, we like to ask our guests some trivia questions. We've already asked the whole outlet thing. You already knew the answer to it anyways when you got here, so that's cheating. So Mark came up with his own trivia questions that I don't even know what they are. So go ahead, dude.
I did. I wanted to ask, but as soon as Noah came in the studio, he already mentioned, he's like, I already know the answer. I've seen it. So I knew we couldn't. But we did. Ray the Fire Guy actually emailed us and let us know that we are covered with all of our extension cords. Believe it or not, we're actually covered from that under the seasonal wiring portion of like Christmas time.
Which we knew firefighters secretly listen to this show.
Yeah. So Ray, thanks for
Ray.
looking out for us. All right. So here's the trivia question. Americans do this at least 22 times a day. Americans do this at least 22 times a day.
Shoot, 22 times a day?
No. Yeah. They don't shoot.
They don't shoot?
No, you said shoot.
Oh, no, that wasn't my answer.
Oh, okay. So 22 times a
gosh.
day they do this. Americans all across the country.
I have no idea. 22 times?
Yeah, think about what you do 22 times a day.
What's our...
Blank out, like right now.
Zone out completely. What? Ask the repeat
That's
the
the
question.
best answer anybody could ever give for that.
No, the answer is open the fridge.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to count every time I open the fridge.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 22 times a day, but
It is.
I have
average.
7 people in my house, so that's a lot of times.
well, for
opening the
you
fridge.
probably.
So that's 7 times 22. That's a big number.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, cool. Thanks for that awesome trivia question, Mark.
Yeah, you're welcome. I have some other ones as we progress through this. Don't worry.
All right, let's get into this because you have a pretty wild story to share. So Noah, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell everybody a little bit about you, where you grew up. We went to high school together. We have our honorary producer here backstage behind camera. You guys can't see Grant Kohler in studio with us, but yeah, man, the floor is yours. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm from Grass Valley, California. Went to high school. Played football, wrestled, did pole vaulting and track. I got 5 kids, married, and have a good life in Grass Valley.
Nice. And so what year you graduated? A year ahead of me, so 2003.
2003, yeah.
Okay, and you immediately went into the military after that?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to join. After 9/11, I knew for sure I was going to join. So I think it was maybe March of 2002. I was a junior and I enlisted in the delayed entry program. So I was enlisted in the military to go. I already signed the papers basically. And then about a month and a half after graduation, I went to basic in Georgia.
And what was that like? Walk everybody through that experience. How old were you? 18?
I was 18. Yeah, 18 and a half, I guess, by basic training.
I'm gonna pull that mic up toward you. There you go.
Yep. And so, I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, for basic and AIT, airborne infantry. And then I went to airborne school at Fort Benning, Georgia. And then it was December 30th of 2003. I went to my unit, and I was in Vicenza, Italy, with the 173rd. So that was a fun experience right then, because it was the day before New Year's Eve. And so the next day, it was New Year's Eve. So we went out to Venice and had a great time, got lost and had fun,
What so you said you were a junior in high school and you basically enlisted. Did you have family in the military? Like, how do you make that decision at that age? Like, you just knew, obviously, but why?
Yeah, I don't really have any family in the military that growing up that I would look after, but I always wanted to do something to challenge myself since I played sports, and I wanted to do something, and I wanted to serve my country. Before 9/11, I felt like it was my duty, and I think everyone should be to join the military. And so it was just something I knew I wanted to do and that I should do. And then when 9/11 happened, I was like, oh yeah, it's fucking on.
Yeah. Yeah. What did your parents think about it?
They were nervous for me or scared for me, but they understood because, like I said before, they knew that I was going to join.
Okay, so this is a conversation you obviously already had with them leading up to it.
Yeah.
You're into sports.
Yeah.
The Olympics are going on right now. What's your favorite thing to watch in the Olympics?
I haven't really watched the Olympics.
No?
No.
I don't
little bits here and there, and just like checking on certain things.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in particular that I would watch.
Well, you did pole vaulting. Did you see the pole vaulting incident that has gone
the
viral?
French. Yeah, I saw the headline thing about it. The guy's junk hit the pole and he lost or something from France.
You didn't see this, Kyle?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. If you have not seen it,
I missed it.
a guy does, I don't know what you call it, pole vault, clears it, and I think he would have won gold, right?
I forget the circumstances about it, but
yeah, he came over, cleared it, but his suit and his junk was hanging out a little bit, and his junk hit the pole.
And then it went bounced off or something.
Yeah, watch it. We'll put the video in right here to watch it. It's awesome. Well, you pole vaulted, and that was just,
Yeah.
It
was fun.
happened?
No.
Okay.
I wish, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. It's not a typical thing then.
No, it's not too normal, I guess.
I can't believe you've never seen this, Kyle.
No, I never saw it, but I'm a little bit more disappointed that never happened to you, man. I mean, that would have been an epic. That's something to brag about.
Yeah, my name would have been on the the boards at school and stuff.
All right. So, all right, man. So you're in Venice, you said, for your first deployment at a base.
Oh yeah, Vicenza was where our base was at. But
okay,
New Year's Eve we went to Venice because it was a half-hour train ride, so we went to Venice a lot.
So, like, at what point do you end up getting deployed to Afghanistan? Like, just walk us through like your training and everything kind of leading up to that. Friendships that you made with guys. Like, what does that look like in your eyes as an 18-year-old?
Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of step back just a sec with it. So one of my best friends is still a friend today. When I was at MEPS in Sacramento, it's the military enrollment processing, right? They messed up my physical. So I was a day late to leave, and they put me in this room because they were trying to find my paperwork or something. And I met this guy, Jason, and we were in this little room together, and we ended up going through basic training together. He was one bunk over from me. We went to airborne school together, and we went to our units together.
Wow.
And we got split up. Our battalions were separate battalions, but our base was 1 square mile, so it was a very small base. and he lives in the Bay Area now. So
kidding.
we see each other, and I never would have met the guy had it not been for them messing up my physical paperwork.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So a little shout out.
So he's the one I went to Venice with on that first night.
Nice.
Or second
That's
night.
cool.
But by the time we got there, they were in Iraq. So the 173rd jumped into Iraq in 2003. And it was like the last 3 months of their deployment into Iraq. And so I did not get sent out because it was about 2 weeks after being there, they sent a group out, and that was the last group to leave. So I spent about 15 months, I guess, in Italy before my deployment to Afghanistan. I got assigned with the headquarters. It was a mortarman, and then before we left for Afghanistan, I got sent to the scout platoon.
Okay.
That's where I did my deployment with them.
Can you just tell everybody a little bit like what's a scout platoon and what does that entail and what does it take to get to that? Or the job?
Yeah. So we had about 3 teams. There's 2 snipers per team. I was not a sniper, but I was just assigned with them. And we'd go out for weeks to over a month at a time and just kind of be out taking over a house and overlooking villages and checking trails and looking for movement. And we'd have certain people that we'd be looking for, certain like high value people that we'd be looking for. So it varied quite a bit depending on where we went and for the reason that we went.
How do you get like assigned to something like that? Is that like, you're like, hey, I want to do that, and you go to school to do that? Or like, do they just say, hey, Noah, you're going to do this? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, they were trying to make another team. I went to long range marksmanship school in Germany and did some other things. So me and a handful of other people got transferred over to the scouts. It's nothing that we applied for or anything like that. It just kind of happened.
Okay, interesting. So you get trained up to do this, and then walk us through your deployment, Afghanistan, because your unit, the 173rd, left Iraq in 2003,
yep.
And then you guys ended up going to Afghanistan in 2005.
Yeah. I believe it was the day that the Pope died is when we went. Really? Yeah, because I remember we were in like Turkmenistan or something like that. It was like a staging before flying in. And I remember being on the bus going to the airstrip. And then I think our sergeant came on and was like, yeah, the Pope just died. And so that was kind of, the people who were religious were, more affected by it, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we flew into Afghanistan, and we were in Faba Lagman in Qulat in Zabul province.
And where is that in like relevant?
So most people know where like Kandahar is, and that's where we flew into. It's to the east. Zabul is to the east of Kandahar as far as provinces go.
And that was like a really pivotal moment of the war, right? I mean, that was like the kind of the height of the war, 2004, 5. I mean,
I guess 2004 to maybe like 2007 or 8.
Yeah. And so you're 20 years old, man, like flying, you're in Afghanistan in the middle of this war. Like what's that like? Like walk us through that. Like, what are you feeling? Just everything about that. I mean,
trying to think at the time. So, I obviously you're fresh, it was my first deployment. A handful of us, it was our first deployment. Everyone else had done, at least one deployment before, or 2, because previous from like Desert Storm or whatnot. But I was nervous and kind of scared and gung ho at the same time because you don't know you don't know yet.
What was your position at? Like when you knew you were getting deployed, did you have a specific, like, this is what your job is, you're trained to do that? Like how did your unit, what was the... I
mean, I was a marksman, I was a gunner, but we kind of, switched positions. Sometimes you're, sitting in the truck, sometimes you're driving, sometimes you're the gunner. It varies quite a bit on your role of certain things.
Yeah.
But mainly just, working as a team. I was just a marksman, and didn't have anything, extra special that made me special as opposed to anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, so like, did you ever hear, I mean, guys that had been to war already and came back, I mean, did they share stories with you? Like kind of let you know what it was going to be like? I mean, that would almost like stress me out
to an extent. They tell some stories, but most people didn't get into anything too much, but yeah, definitely everyone told a couple small things here and there.
And what's the weather like there when you got there? I mean,
I want to say it was probably like 120 degrees at the time.
Oh shit!
It's really dry. It's kind of like upper Nevada, so it's a high desert. Mm-hmm. So we were at places that we were 14,000 feet, and it gets extremely hot and it gets extremely cold in the wintertime, enough to where you're putting your water bottles in your sleeping bag at night so they won't freeze over.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's
so it is huge extremes from day to night.
Yeah, I've heard, I've seen videos and heard, stories from people. And I mean, I don't know. I've seen photos of it. And like you look at Afghanistan in the wintertime and it damn near looks like Tahoe or Lake Tahoe area.
Yeah, it's very gorgeous. It's a beautiful country. When you're in the mountains, obviously there's not really many trees and things like that, but just the landscape and the hills and, the sunrises and sunsets.
Yeah. You hear that about it.
It's very pretty.
So what's your guys' day-to-day functions when you're there? I mean, how do you guys get kick-started and everything? I mean, you slowly integrated into things. I mean, how does that work out?
I think our first couple small missions were just kind of day missions. We were taking, I think, like a captain or something down to one of the local villages and talking with elders, and we'd sit around and have food and stuff like that while they talked. I think that's how we kind of started doing some small stuff, just real close to our fob. And then
is that by design to kind of get you like acclimated, or is it that's just your mission? Like here you're doing this. We don't care if you're brand new or you've been here multiple.
I mean, it's definitely like that to some people for sure. I'm sure a lot of people, their first mission was, doing something, crazy. I think it just happened that way with us.
Yeah.
Cause I know some of the other guys had done, they were gone the first week, but being with the scouts, we did a lot of it was very all over the place. It's nothing that it was just, one thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it would kind of come down that, you're going to go to this province in this area and, we might be there for 2 weeks. And then, the next time we were, a month, and you're just out there and you're getting resupplied. And sometimes, I think our longest is maybe 6 weeks or something like that. Oh, wow. I think it was supposed to be a month, but a couple different things happened, and many trucks broke down, and we sunk one in the river.
So you're gone for 6 weeks before you go back to the base?
Yeah.
Wow.
And where are you guys sleeping at? Like, what is that like?
Most of we would take over somebody's house, basically.
Really?
And we'd kick them out, and we would make that our camp.
Oh.
And
where are those people going? They figured it out?
Yeah, they'd go to a neighbor's house or a family's house down the
That's
street.
Interesting.
Something like that. We would give them flour and wheat and grains and things like that. But usually they didn't take it because Taliban would come down after the fact and
know that they're
if they took it, then they would get in trouble.
What are some of the stories you heard about the Taliban over there? I mean, did some of the local people would share stories about you with them? How did you get integrated to know about the Taliban
or where they were located in certain areas?
Where they're located.
Usually we had some sort of intel for the most part for certain missions, like they're running out of this village, and go inspect or go check out that village you're overlooking, and you're trying to just see what is going on. You're trying to find where people are going to, because they would go up to the mountains during the day. We had an interpreter with us always, and they would basically have a radio and then listen to chatter as to what was going on around you. So at sometimes there would be 5 people all around you, surrounding you on different hilltops, and they're watching you at the time, and you have no idea where they are. Wow, but they're talking, crazy. And they're talking about you. Oh, they took over. They're here, and our interpreter's interpreting them talking to each other on the radio. But you don't know where they're at on the hills because they're, mountains, not hills, they're mountains.
And they're basically,
they're 1 or 2 people, in different locations.
So you're there to scout them, and they're actually scouting you.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, that would, yeah, I can only imagine what that would make you feel like. I mean, that would be terrifying, especially if you don't know where they're at.
Yeah. So that would vary. A lot of times they would, attack trucks, basically trucks that were moving cargo in Afghanistan. And they would attack those trucks sometimes. We'd watch them. Remember seeing a group of a convoy of vehicles going through a canyon off, I don't know, probably like 10 miles away or something. And you can kind of see them going through, and you hear all this, firing going off and things like that. And then a couple minutes later, you see them hightailing it back out, and their caravans coming back out. Taking over. Other times they, during the winter time, a lot of times they'd go to Pakistan because it's really cold, and the fighting usually goes down quite a bit. So they would travel to Pakistan in these groups, and you would see these big vehicles with packed like sardines, like 20 dudes, all in 25-ish or 30 years old. And exactly who they are. But there's nothing you can do about it because they don't have anything on them. There's nothing that says that they are Taliban or whatever, but they're all convoying down to Pakistan. Huh. And they would give you this, fucking look in their eyes, of hatred.
Yeah.
But, there's nothing you could do about that.
So let's talk about your incident when you guys were hit by an IED. Walk us through that day, how you started the day, how the incident started, and then we'll talk about it after the fact.
Yeah. I believe it was northern Zabul, where we were located at the time. We had got dropped off out there from a Chinook, made a base camp. We had a couple, 2 teams with us, 2 scout teams and a mortar team. And we had Afghani Army with us at the time. So we had been there for maybe, 3 days-ish, somewhere around there. And then, so the day before we had left, and so we're leaving we're about to leave our compound. We have all of our gear on our vehicles. We have 2 up armored Humvees, 1 for each team. I was in the second truck on the Mark 19. The other guy was on the 50 calendar lead truck. Right before we're going to leave, 3 minutes, the other gunner wanted to switch positions. He wanted to be on the Mark 19.
Tell everybody what the Mark 19 is.
It's an automatic 40 millimeter grenade launcher.
Okay.
And so it's a beast of a machine.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
So he wanted to be on that?
He wanted to be on that. He had seniority over me, and that's what he wanted. So we switched positions. And if that had not happened, he would be, in this position instead of me, which is weird.
It's crazy.
Weird to think about. And I would have been the one watching him because he watched me. He was right behind us when it happened. And so then we leave that morning. We were going out to drop off 2 of our snipers, and they were going to go up on a mountain to overwatch a village. So we dropped them off. We went to another village and kind of checked out the area. We were looking for, I don't remember who it was, but some high value target that we were looking for, and just assessing what was going on in the area. And so we ended up staying the night that night. It was me, our lieutenant, and a guy, Israel Del Toro. He was Air Force TAC P, calling air support and things like that with the Air Force. So we were in our vehicle. We ended up staying the night, doing 2-hour sleep, 1 hour on, 2 hours sleep, 1 hour on, as we all 3 rotated for fire guard. The next day, it was December 4th. We were coming back, and we were going to pick up our 2 scouts, snipers up on the hill. And we had passed a creek. It was me, our truck, and maybe our other truck, and then maybe 4 or 5 Afghani Army vehicles behind us. And I'm in the lead truck. We passed over a river or creek. We started kind of going up this little incline, and then we hit a 105 artillery round that was in the ground, and shot me up out of the vehicle. And we're kind of going up, and it was all, snapshots. I don't believe I ever passed out. I kind of remember everything, but it was all just little bits and pieces. I remember feeling weightless in the air and floating a bit, and then came down, hit the back of the truck, and then fell behind the truck. And as I'm, kind of pushing my upper body up, I'm watching. I just see the truck coming back, and it just rolls over me, crushes my left side. My legs were pinned underneath. I can feel my chest and my head getting squished from the axle and the A-arm of the getting squished under the axle and the A-arm of the vehicle. And I just, freaked out. And I grabbed the bumper, and I was, struggling to get out, and I felt stuck. And our medic was in the truck behind us, and he came and grabbed me and helped pull me out and got me out of underneath the vehicle. And he's looking at me and assessing me. And the first thing I asked him is if my junk was still there. And he reached down and grabbed me, and he's like, "You're still there." And I was like, "Fuck, all right." And
you need that third leg, dude.
It's a big part of your life. And I guess it's a common question from what I have heard from other people. But so he's assessing me, and obviously I'm in shock and whatnot. And I remember complaining about my shoulder, I knew how bad my legs were, 'cause as he was pulling me out, I remember I was looking back, and I could see my feet, and they were still attached, but they were just badly broken and tore, and they were kind of just fumbling around as he's dragging me. I couldn't really feel it at the moment. Like it was numb and hot. I couldn't really fully feel, the pain yet. I think the shock was still there, and it wasn't until, I want to say it was 3 hours or something before a helicopter had come grab us, because we were, pretty isolated area.
Wow.
As the medics kind of checking me over, I remember looking up, and Del Toro was running towards the river, and he was, engulfed in flames. Just, he was a torch running. And they pushed him in. Our LT grabbed him, helped push him into the water to put him out. I think our LT got some burns on his hands and things like that from, grabbing him, because he was literally on, fully on fire. It had been a while that we were waiting for it. Our scout, our snipers that were up on the hill started taking fire, and so they were isolated between, just them against a group of guys coming after them. And
could you hear all that going on?
We can hear shots kind of going off in the distance. I remember hearing the radios kind of going off, and I could hear our guys talking, about what was going on. Then our medic went over to Del Toro, because he required much more attention than I was, because he had been burned so badly. Mm-hmm. And so I believe Shaw came over and was kind of giving me company, sitting next to me in the meantime. And they put us up on when the helicopter came. They had me on a stretcher. They had Del Toro, all of his clothes had been cut off, and they had a blanket on him, and they had him standing because they couldn't have him laying down, because they kind of would have drowned or couldn't breathe. So I remember being on the helicopter, on the ground on the stretcher, and Del Toro's right next to me, and I could just see his legs and everything. It was just, his whole body was black, just crispy. And he had, his blanket over him. Then they took us to Fob Lagman, our main fob. for immediate treatment and to kind of give it stabilized. And then I remember them working on me. They gave me some medication and whatnot, and I was hallucinating, and I could feel them moving my legs around. And I'm talking to my platoon sergeant. He was holding my hand and kind of, talking to me and just kind of keep me company. And the next thing I know, I remember waking up and I was in Kandahar, and Sergeant Lopez was going on leave, and he was in Kandahar at the time, and he heard what happened. And so I woke up and he's sitting next to me.
No kidding.
And it was amazing because I would have been waking up by myself, as opposed to seeing a familiar face next to me, which was incredible at the time. And then they sent me to Longstuhl, Germany, and I was there for, I want to say, about a week or so, because they weren't sure if I was gonna survive, and they were about to send my parents out to come see me, but I became stable. And then when I was in Longstuhl, I was sleeping, and I woke up to the Big Show, that wrestler from like WWE. It was
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, it was three guys in Mick Foley, the Big Show, and Triple H.
Oh, okay. I've heard of Triple H.
They were all standing over me, and that kind of freaked me out because that dude is huge, and I woke up and I just saw this huge man standing over me. And I was never a wrestling fan, but my dad was, so I had him sign a picture from my dad.
Oh, right.
That's cool.
And he still has that now.
What were they doing there?
They were there talking to injured soldiers there.
No kidding. Wow, that's cool.
It's a huge hospital with for traumatic injuries.
Damn, that's cool of them.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then I got sent to Walter Reed, and then they sent my family out, and I was there for a year and a week
in the hospital
at Walter Reed. Yeah. I was on my back for about a month and a half, and I wasn't able to roll on my sides or anything because I had such bad breaks throughout my femur and throughout my body there. So I wasn't able to roll. And then I was in the hospital for a couple months, and then that was like inpatient in the hospital room. And then I was still on the hospital grounds, and I went to an apartment for the rest of the time doing like physical therapy and getting my first set of legs and things like that.
At what point did you lose your legs?
Well, I wanted to real quick before we get into that. I just wanted to ask real quick the blast when you guys got hit by the IED. It sounds like that was a pre-planned ambush,
for sure,
on their behalf.
Yeah. So when we got hit,
wanted to hear the play. I wanted to hear like the play.
Ask me any of those kind of things. It was basically a one-way road. It's all dirt roads out there. You're four-wheeling around.
Yeah.
There was one way into the village and one way out. So they knew we were going to have to go back out the same way. That night they planted an artillery round IED, and knowing that we were going to run it over. And
so any other injuries or casualties as a result of that?
It was just the three of us that were in that vehicle. Okay. I lost both of my legs. Toro got 80% of his body, was third-degree burns, and lost a lot of digits on his hands and his ears, stuff like that.
What was he, a driver or passenger?
He was passenger. Our lieutenant was driving, which is kind of weird to have our lieutenant in the first vehicle driving, but that's what he was doing.
Did he sustain injuries from that?
Yeah, I'm sure he had gotten a concussion, and I know he got burned from helping get Del Toro up off the ground and get him into the water.
Did you ever talk to the guys that were in the convoy with you? Like, what was their perspective watching something like that happen?
So I actually tried to get in contact with the guy that was in the vehicle behind me, and he kind of
avoided.
No, I don't want to say avoided it, but he kind of
had a little bit.
I think he had issues with what was going on too.
Yeah.
He probably thought the same thing. Like, man, that could have been me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's wild. Like, just before you guys go, you swapped out.
Yeah, it was, minutes. We were about to leave, and we swapped spots.
Crazy.
There was one of the snipers that was up on the hill that we were coming back to get. had come and saw me in Walter Reed when he went on leave, and he assured me that they got everybody.
Yeah, that's good.
You know?
I'm glad that. Yeah, it's a
I
little bit of
think it was
closure.
Battle Company that came in support of that incident and then helped clear the area.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, sorry, back to. I
Yeah.
just
At
wanted
what
to hear
point
the-
did you realize that you were going to lose your legs?
So when I woke up in Kandahar, my right leg was gone. My left leg was still there. I had a halo, which was a big metal contraption with rods that holds your bones in place. My ankle was shattered into like 1,000 pieces and fused. The whole thing was fused together, so I would have had no ankle movement or foot movement at all. I had about 4-inch gap of no bone in my tibia, I guess, the lower part of your leg there.
Yeah.
Both bones were, missing a portion, and then there was other breaks besides the missing bone. So the halo was holding it all together in place. And then my knee was shattered, my femur was shattered. I got a rod and pins and things like that in there. So it was maybe a week after I had gotten to Walter Reed. The doctors had come and I had told them to take my leg off. Their plan was to bring my bones together, that 4-inch gap, and have them just millimeters apart, and then have the bones start growing towards each other, and they would just slowly expand it over time, and it was going to take like 3 years to do, and I still was going to have no movement in my my ankle or foot. So I was like, no, take it off. And they told me I was not in the right state of mind at the time to make that decision. So I waited. They told me about a month. So I waited a month, and I had talked with other vets who were in very similar situations. One of them decided to keep his leg, and he said it was the worst decision he has ever made, and he had plans to get it removed. Just because, the pain was
Yeah,
unbearable
I bet.
from what he was saying.
I bet.
And his quality of life was lowered because he didn't have the mobility. Having a prosthetic leg gave him much more mobility than having his own leg that was damaged to that extent, right?
Yeah.
When they told you that you're not in that mind state to make that decision, looking back, would you agree with that, or did your opinion change, or that was?
No, my opinion was already made. I had already.
It was made up.
It was made up.
Yeah.
And I think I was making the right decision. I think I did make the right decision.
Yeah.
Because I would be much worse off. Obviously, I still got a lot of pain in my femur and in my knee. I don't have any cartilage in my knee, so it's just bone on bone. And there's things that I deal with, but it's less than what I would have had to deal with.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And so it was much more emotional than I had thought. When they actually took it off, because in my mind I was like, take it off. I'm already missing one. Like, just take it off. I remember after the surgery, they had it off. I went into my room. My parents were sitting in there waiting for me to get out. And I just looked at them and I just rolled over, cried, and fell asleep, and I didn't cry about it since then, or at that time about it, It's kind of weird looking back that, just that, like, it actually happened. I think that's what it was, when I got out and I was in my room, like, it's actually gone. I wanted it gone, but it's actually gone. But it was the right choice.
Yeah. Damn, that's brutal.
Strong to make that decision. I mean, I don't even know how to comment on that other than like that, the mindset to how strong that is.
Yeah. Well, I sent you some of those pictures.
Yeah,
you can kind of see some of them. That halo. You can't really, I guess, see the extent of what's inside, what's going on in the bone, but they showed me all that before I made that initial decision. So when I saw all that and the actual extent and seeing it in an X-ray and things like that, I knew. I mean, it's just
so when you're
had
at
to happen.
Walter Reed and you're going through this recovery process, what is the recovery process for that?
So I guess the first thing was when I was in bed, I had lost a lot of weight. My strength was gone. I remember the first White came and saw me, and he was taking some pictures of me and bringing it back to, some of the guys. And I had these 2-pound pink weights, and I think I was able to do 1 or 2 curls with it. I just couldn't, lift it anymore. So it was kind of strength, and I was pulling myself up in bed. My left knee was locked. I had 15 degrees of motion, so it was just a very small amount. So having the therapist coming into my room and cranking on my knee to get movement out of it was incredibly painful.
Yeah.
But it's like 95% movement in it now. So it's huge.
Yeah.
And it started off as little things, once I was able to get in my chair, go down to the physical therapy room. You're doing, just exercises first, stretches, small exercises. And each day is just a little bit more and a little bit more until you're kind of getting your strength back and your mobility back. Did classes on just kind of how to be in a wheelchair, learn how to eat shit in a wheelchair, fall and not hurt yourself falling out of your wheelchair. And I was through airborne school, so it was basically the same thing, but instead of, hitting with your legs, your feet, it's hitting with something else first. But it's the same thing, rolling to prevent injury. And then, I got my first pair of legs, and
Did you hold it? Okay, so you were in a wheelchair. You're learning that. Is there? You're transitioning from that to the legs, like you.
Yeah.
Because there are people that stay in chairs versus having legs.
Right. There's many different people who have different injuries with their legs. So I am grateful and lucky that I am missing both below the knee. I have my knees. If you're missing above your knee, it's a huge difference in your walking ability. I could move my knee, so I could kick my leg out. When you don't have a knee, you have to walk and kick your prosthetic out that has a knee with your hip mainly and your femur. So it's a different way of walking. If you're missing both of your knees and it's very difficult to walk, or much harder to walk with prosthetics. And it's the length of where your stump is. If you're right above the knee, it's better than someone that's halfway up because there's less leverage. Right? So the higher you're up, the less leverage you have to push off. There are some guys that lost both of their legs right at the crotch, basically. So when they're sitting in their chair, it doesn't look like they have any legs at all. It's just like a torso. So those guys obviously aren't going to walk very much because they don't have any means to kick the prosthetic out.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So there's a lot of degrees, and it'll depend on, injury of those limbs that are amputated. So there's a lot of variables.
So you get prosthetics. Now you're transitioning into learning to use them.
Right. Yeah. So the first, you got a walker, and you got cane, 2 canes. You got 1 cane. They'll put straps around, like rubber bands around your legs to help put tension, to help build the muscles up. You're walking up little flights of stairs, like 3 stairs. Doing different things like that until you have mobility, and then each day it's just a progression of what you're capable of doing. There was a guy, he got injured maybe 2 or 3 weeks after me. I think he was in Iraq. And we started our physical therapy around the same time. And so he was missing both of his legs below the knee also. And so we're starting to walk at the same time. We're doing all this stuff at the same time. And so we competed with each other.
Yeah.
It drove both of us, He would do better one week. And I'm like, I'm going to do better. So I do better, and then he would do better. And we would just keep pushing each other to better ourselves. And I think it made it much faster and some camaraderie on, during that process. And everyone that's there is blown up. Everyone's missing limbs. Everyone's missing arms and, legs, and has, chunks of their head missing. There's a lot of variety. So there's camaraderie of people that are injured together and healing together, joking together. You know?
What's the vibe there with all those people there with those major injuries coming back from the war? Like, I'm sure some people don't take it as well as others. I mean, did you ever meet anybody where you kind of felt like trying to help them along, or you see people struggling like that?
For sure. There's definitely people who struggle more. And it's a mindset of that. You can only do so much for certain people. I think not that, I think some people, they have their minds made up already. There's nothing you could do to get them out of that mindset. I'm sure there are plenty of people that I was at Walter Reed with who are no longer here today.
Yeah.
I'm positive. I don't, I'm just,
yeah,
and that's the reality of it. It's not easy for any of us, whether you got injured or not. If you were in combat, it's not easy being a civilian again.
Yeah.
So we all have our challenges. And I think I went through my challenges, after I got home. I thought I was fine, and I tried to portray that I was fine, and I tried to put a mask that I was fine, but I wasn't. But I kept tricking myself into thinking that I was. And that only lasts so long,
When did you discover that you were not okay?
I think when my first wife left, that was a big.
Were you married when you went in, or?
No, I got married after. She sent me a letter when I was at Walter Reed, and we got together, got home, got married. It was it was like a 1-year marriage. I was way more messed up than I thought. I blamed her for everything. Not that she didn't have a part, but we were young, you know, and I didn't know what I was getting into. She didn't know what she was getting into. I didn't know how messed up I was. She didn't know how messed up I was. It's just, it was a learning experience of what it was with that. I went into a very deep, depression after that, because I was in my head of, realizing how my mindset, I didn't really care, and very depressed, and, at some points, you cry and you want to kill yourself, because you're like, how can I go on? But I was lucky enough to get out of that, and not everyone does. One of the nights that changed my life, I was sitting there and I had a 38 in my lap, and a lady from the VA called me, and this was like, I want to say this was like after hours, and she called me and she's like, hey, there's this program that opened up at Martinez VA down in the Bay Area, and it's for PTSD and traumatic brain injury, and do you think you'd want to go do something like that? It's an inpatient thing. And I was like, yeah, and it was just weird how that happened. So that Monday, I went into my work, and I told my boss, hey, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, and this is what's going on. He's like, yeah, okay. I never went back. I was there for, half a year or something like that down there. As an inpatient for quite a number of months, and then stayed there and did outpatient therapy. It was this program that helped, and it changed my life. I realized for all those years previous of being at home, I was trying to be who I used to be. I was trying to be, the Noah Bailey in my mind of what I once was. I never accepted this is who I am now, that was my epiphany. I think that during that program that changed my outlook, that, I need to find out who I am again. I lost myself, and I was trying to be, that was my mask. I was trying to be somebody else, or me, but a different me, and it helped me put a lot of things into perspective about myself, and it changed my life, and then I, met my wife, my current wife now, and I got we have 5 kids, 2 from a previous marriage, and then 3 daughters. and live in Grass Valley and, living a good life.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
But leading up to that, it was, suppression, and for so long, and then not wanting to deal with it, not thinking everything was okay when it wasn't. And then once realizing that you're all fucked up, then it was just sinking after that, because you realize, and there's nothing you could do at the moment because you don't know how to fix it, and you're too embarrassed to tell anybody, because you feel weak, or I did, like I don't want to tell anybody that I'm having these issues or I'm thinking these thoughts because I'll feel weaker as a person, but it's not true, it's just what you're thinking at the moment. And
well, I'm glad you had that epiphany because I'm
too.
honored to sit across from you.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good things have been happening recently.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of things to be thankful for.
Yeah, your
thankful
family, kids.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had any of that.
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you still keep in contact with guys that you served with? You still friends with them?
A handful of guys, not so much. I think I kind of keep to myself a lot, or to my family a lot. There's, a few guys that I definitely will talk to from time to time. I don't have social media. I don't have anything like that. So it's just guys that, send texts every now and again or call from time to time. Sometimes it's years, and it's just like, hey man, how you doing? And just a quick catch up. I think I used to talk more often, years ago, but I got my own life, and I'm trying to move forward from now and not, think about the past so much with it.
That's almost like the epiphany, right? That's the new Noah.
It's like, it. Yeah.
It's moving forward.
This is me now.
Yeah.
And I'm just, trying to live my best life I can now.
All right, so let's talk about that. So you're a recipient of Homes for Our Troops. Tell everybody what that is and what they're doing for you and your family.
Yeah. So to start that, I guess it's all because of my wife. She's the one who put we talked about it, but she put the application in a couple years ago, and she kept up on it, and she's the reason that we got accepted.
Nice.
It was her persistence with it and getting us out there. I love
Tell
my
everybody
wife
what
for
they're
that.
doing for you.
Yeah. What is this?
We gotta pitch this organization.
She did this amazing thing.
She
It
did
took
this
years
amazing
to
thing,
get,
yeah.
and then it's got to get built. Like, what is this?
Yeah. So last year, we Homes for Our Troops basically builds handicap accessible houses for disabled veterans.
Awesome.
Every house that I've been in since I got injured, I destroy in my wheelchair. Beat up the walls. I got to crawl inside my shower to take a shower. I don't have a handicap accessible house. I can't afford to have that big of a house and walls and things like that. So there's a lot of damage that occurs, and a lot of us veterans who have disabilities like that or in very similar situations. So they build a house that's totally handicap accessible, free.
Wow, that is amazing.
They buy the property, and they build your house on it wherever you want it, for the most part.
Wow.
And so we are sadly moving to out of California, and we're moving to Texas, at Spring Branch, Texas.
Oh, well, good for you, man.
Yeah.
That is awesome. How do people can they donate to Homes for Our Troops? I mean, is
Yeah,
there a website?
it's homesforourtroops.com. You can go on there. You can find all the recipients who have previously been accepted and have gotten their houses built. You can go on there and see who is currently in the process of getting a house built, like myself. Mm-hmm. They have videos on there and telling our stories of
Really cool.
Yeah.
the troubles that we go through being disabled and having a house that's not accessible. It's a lot of challenges, and so you can go on there, donate to them, check it out. It's a fantastic organization. When we applied for it, I knew that they were a big organization. They flew us out to Massachusetts for a conference. So there was, I want to say maybe 10 of us who were going to be accepted. So it's this conference letting you know what's going on with the whole process of it all. And I forget where I was going with that.
No, I mean, I can't think of like a better organization for somebody to donate to would be.
Yeah, I think we should donate also. And it's interesting because it's easy to overlook, and I clearly overlooked the home that you would have to live in to be comfortable because we met you outside of our studio. You have your prosthetics. You walked up here fine. You're sitting with him, but not really thinking like your home life.
I'm in my chair.
Yeah, and how difficult. I'm putting myself in my perspective of my house. Like, I don't know if I could get around in that. Like, it would be hard. And I think this program and the fact that you got it and your wife put it in and persistent, dude, is amazing.
It really is. It's
that
an
is
amazing
awesome.
program. They do a lot. So they're much bigger, much more organized than I had thought. And it's a lot of people who care.
Yeah.
I think that's what touched me the most of being at that conference is that they actually care. Everyone who works there cares about the people that they're helping.
That's
it's not just people doing a job. Like,
I can't imagine how much more comfortable it's going to be when you get to moving. When you moving?
We don't have an exact time frame, but sometime next year is when the house will be completed, and we'll know as it kind of goes along. But there's no set date yet of it.
Well, good for you, man. That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Man, that is awesome.
There's a lot to being in a wheelchair that you don't think about, and there's a lot that's going to be when that house gets built that I don't think about that I'm so used to doing. It's been 18 and a half years since I got injured, so another couple years or something, I would have spent longer without legs than with legs. It was a month before I turned 21.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that I just do, and you don't think about it, even though it's a pain in the ass. You don't think about it because that's what you've been doing. So there's going to be a lot that I'm looking forward to. How much easier it's going to be on my body.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome.
Well, I think we should challenge our listeners to all donate to this program.
Yeah, we'll put the link for the donation in the description of the video, so it'll be in there. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Well, listen, we always wrap our shows up with our guests or one of us giving the listeners something, some life knowledge or something that you would want to pass on to somebody. Anything, it could be whatever you want. If you had a message for somebody, what would it be?
Probably just push on and don't be scared. And if you are, you're not alone. Tell somebody. There's people that love you that are there to help you.
Yeah.
Noah, it's inspiring to sit across from you. You've had some pivotal moments in your life, and you're here for a reason. So it's wonderful to sit across from you and listen to your story. And I wish I could meet your wife because she sounds like she's amazing.
She is.
So thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for doing this and sharing your story. It's incredible. I went to high school with you and didn't really know you that much. Obviously, we have the same group of friends, but I had heard about your incident years ago when it happened. But it's been really fascinating sitting here listening to you share the story and actually getting to meet you in this way. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for your service, everything that you've done. Thank you for joining in, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. We'll see you later.
See ya.